Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. Dave with you. Hope you're doing well. We are doing something different today. Yeah, we're doing a podcast feed drop. What is this? It is where we bring someone else's podcast into this podcast, and you get to hear their show on my show. And that's a feed drop. And you should do this on your podcast, especially if you want to take a break. If you're busy, if you're going to be away for holidays, you got some space in your calendar that you would like to fill. You're also at the same time featuring another podcaster that you love and another show that you love and that you endorse and that you think your audience would love as well. As long as you pick something that fits with your typical audience and your typical content, then have at it. The more you do this, the better. I'd encourage you to try this more often. And if you want to drop your feed into my feed and share your show, if you talk about podcasting, if you have an episode around your podcast and about podcasting tips or any of that stuff, I'd love to feature your show on this show. Happy to do this. I have a lot of space in my calendar as I'm doing a daily episode every day, 365 days straight for this show this year. So I have room, and I'd love to feature your show. So if that's interesting to you, then definitely reach out to me, let me know, and we'll do exactly what we're going to do here today for your show. Happy to do that and happy to put you in front of my audience so that you can grow your show at the same time. That's great. Now, today we're going to be looking at an episode from my good internet buddy, Dave Beckmeyer, over there in California. I'm up in Canada. I'm jealous. And Dave is, well, we always need another Dave, right? That's like a thing. Dave has several shows, including Monetize This. And it's a satirical, lighthearted jabbing at the podcast guru complex, where all the gurus get up here and try to sell you something. Dave is trying to kind of take a funny look at this and kind of expose some of the things that we hear in podcasting that we kind of do the eye roll. You know the eye roll? You're like, oh, yeah, that, right? Yeah, we see them in Facebook groups. We see podcasts about podcasting, of which this is one. Hopefully we don't do what Dave's talking about. But anyways, on Monetize This, Dave had Alex Sanfilippo on. He is the creator of PodMatch. Alex goes on a ton of podcasts as a guest. And when Alex came on Dave's show, Dave and Alex had a conversation that I've never heard Alex talk like this on any other show. And basically the premise was, before they hit record, was Alex, tell me some stuff that would probably get you kicked out of your next podcast conference or event. And Alex, again, he doesn't talk about this stuff much on other podcasts. He's been on this show. And you got to see another side of Alex Sanfilippo, one of the nicest guys in podcasting. He deserves an award for being the nice guy. Alex is just great. PodMatch is great too. But yeah, so he was on Dave's show, and what we're going to do is play the episode as is, exactly the way it is in Dave's feed. And I'd encourage you to go subscribe to and follow Monetize This with Dave Beckmeyer, link in the show notes, and go follow the show. It's great. It's really, really fun. And they're short episodes. Dave is really good at his edits as well. So take note of how the show is edited, how it's crafted, how it's put together. It's not your typical interview. And keep in mind, this is the full episode you're going to hear here on this podcast. This interview was a lot longer and cut down to a very short period of time. So Dave cut a lot out of the conversation to create this episode. It's punchy, it's fun, there's a lot of hot takes and a lot of things that are going to make some of the gurus very uncomfortable. And I love it. I love it for all of those reasons and more. So Dave Beckmeyer, great podcaster. If you ever want to meet Dave virtually, in person, if that's a thing, he comes to our meetups on Tuesdays and Saturdays. He's there most times, and you can meet this fine gentleman yourself. And he's a great person to know. and he's a great person to be known by. Does that work? Yeah. So here's Dave's episode with Alex Sanfilippo on Monetize This, featured feed drop here on the How to Podcast series. I hope you enjoy it. I did. I'm going to listen too. So let's go grab a coffee, you and I, and listen to Dave with Alex on Monetize This. Gentlemen, take it away.
Finish this sentence for me. Podcasting would be way better if people stopped, ...
If people stop trying to grow their audience. I know It sounds crazy, right? But I think
that'll get you kicked out of a podcast.
Yeah, it will. I think that too many of us were so focused on our next listener instead of our current listener. I don't really mean stop trying to grow your show. I mean, stop making that the focal point of it. Like, if you could just make better content, if you could just serve the person who's already listening, as a byproduct, your show will grow.
This is Monetize This, the podcast where we turn a skeptical eye towards podcasting guru advice. I'm your host, David Beckemeyer, and today we're talking to someone who builds tools for podcasters, runs one of the biggest podcast guest platforms, teaches an entire course on podcasting, and just said you should stop trying to grow your show. Either he's terrible at business or we've misunderstood something. Alex Sanfilippo is the founder of PodMatch. Now, in podcasting, the usual story goes like this. Step 1, build an audience. Step 2, monetize the audience. Step 3, build a course teaching other people how to monetize their audience. Alex somehow skipped a few of those steps. So let's go back to where Alex's podcasting story actually started.
Back in 2013, maybe 2012, was the first time I listened to a podcast. And David, I'll just be real. I told the whole room of people that was listening to a podcast, it was like at my company I was working for, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You all are literally just listening to this? Like, there's no screen on anywhere? And it was so funny. And like that same day, I listened to my first podcast because they told me I had an app for it. And then like fast forward 6 months later, I'm like, I'm starting a show. I love this. This is so cool. I want to do it. Right. And so like, I kind of just dove all in on podcasting and really liked it. Although I still had like a full-time job. It wasn't until many years later, 2020 is when I got into podcasting with the decision. I should say went like all in on it. Like I had the decision like that year, I wanted to get into podcasting full time. And not necessarily with my show. Like my show was the passion of what I had, but I was like, I want to jump in on the industry side because I realized there's a lot, especially back then, 2020, there were so many gaps in podcasting still. And so I was at a podcasting conference in Orlando, Florida, at the beginning of 2020, before the whole world shut down. Like 2 weeks before the world shut down, there's 2,000 of us in a room. And I knew what I wanted to do at the end of my talk. So at the end of my talk, I just said, hey, if you'll give me 1 to 2 minutes of your time afterwards, I'd love to give you a hug, meet you. And I've got just one question for any podcaster who will chat with me. I got off stage and I feel like I didn't move for hours and just pen and paper in hand. And I'm like, hey, what's your name? What's your podcast? What's your email address? What are you struggling with in podcasting? That was my question. What are you struggling with? And I heard a lot of things that day, but I heard 100 people. I stopped at 100 when 100 people said the same thing. One in a row that was kind of all mixed in. But the common trend was I'm having trouble finding the right guest for my show. And even when I can, it's a very cumbersome process. And so I kind of found my niche, PodMatch, connecting guests and hosts for interviews, was kind of the thing that I was like, hey, this will be my vehicle. And so I got all in on podcasting, right? Like at that point, within a year, I was full time with it and growing that business. And then I had a show that was my passion project. It's about entrepreneurship, about being an entrepreneur, about like what it was like. And I like a side hustle entrepreneur, I should say. And then I realized there was a need for education. So like I shifted that show to be called Podcasting Made Simple. So it's about helping podcasters. And so like I never planned on having a show about podcasting. Like I never really saw myself becoming a full-time podcaster until like it hit me. And I was like, I actually want to do this. And so that's kind of like the whole story of how I like went from just a person who didn't even want to listen to a person who had a show, a person who became full-time in the industry and now educate other podcasters. And it's been a lot of fun, like a real joy to be part of this industry.
So by this point, Alex is building tools for podcasters, talking to thousands of hosts, and sitting right in the middle of the industry, which means he's also sitting right in the middle of something else, podcast gurus, courses, strategies, and a constant stream of predictions about what podcasters should be doing next, including one in particular that comes up a lot.
It was when YouTube first came on the scene of podcasting. They brought in a YouTube executive, and from stage, he said, if your podcast isn't on YouTube, your podcast won't be relevant within the next year. And it took everything in me not to walk on stage and grab another microphone or just yell and be like, that is not true. You know, like, and let me show you the real data, not YouTube's data, because what people don't know is when YouTube first started, like, air quotes, podcasting, they counted every single YouTube channel as a podcast. And so they had really great data on how billions of people were listening every day. I'm like, well, obviously, because you just converted your whole platform and said, well, now we're podcasting.
There's nothing wrong with YouTube. There is something wrong with fear marketing.
I mean, no shade by saying this, but the Listen Notes top 1% podcaster. And so Listen Notes, a lot of podcasts be like top 1% podcaster. They're getting it from this website, Listen Notes, which again, Listen Notes is actually a great product, great service. I'm not saying anything bad about it. Their ranker is a little bit confusing. So people are like, oh, I'm a top 1% podcaster. If we look at the podcasting industry and let's just look at Apple Podcasts. We'll just take that as an example. If you're a top 1% podcaster, it means you're in the top 30,000 of all shows listed on Apple. If you go somewhere else, it means you're like, let's go to Spotify. It means there's top 70,000 shows. So it's like, it doesn't really have a lot of meaning, right? Like to it. So like, and I don't mean to tell people like remove it from your description of your show and stuff like that. I'm not saying you need to do that, but that metric doesn't mean a whole lot. Like if you're the top 30,000 at anything in life or in work, like that's, and again, this sounds so mean, but it's not actually that impressive. It means there's 30,000 other people that are at that same level as you, right? And so like we kind of use this like, oh, I'm a top 1% podcast. I'm like, great, that's a lot of people. And as a matter of fact, like if you look at how many podcasters are actually considered like actively established, it's like 36,000. So almost everyone in the category of like what I would consider like an established podcaster is a top 1% podcaster. So like, why are we all throwing that around? And the thing is, I don't know if you, the reason I bring this one up is I don't think that matters to listeners. I don't think a listener is seeing that and being like, ooh, it's a top 1% show. I should definitely listen. We just do that for us, right? Like we do that for us as podcasters. I think that when you put that, when you lead with like, hey, I'm a top 1% podcaster, it really shows a bit of an ego being involved in the process versus, hey, I'm here to serve. Because that isn't really a credibility factor. So like I always tell people like, hey, like if you need to keep that in there, like you need it, right? You got to have that pat in the back, put it at the end, start with the value that you add to somebody who's going to actually listen to your show. Like, so don't focus on that ranking even because here's the thing, like my show is about podcasting. My show is never going to be a top 1% of anything. Like I'm not saying anything bad about me. The reality is there's just not enough people who will ever listen to my show. That's okay. I didn't make my show to be a top 1% podcaster. I made my show to serve a very small segment of people that say I'm a podcast guest or host that wants to go further faster, right? It's a few thousand people maybe that are ever like looking for that type of content. That's great with me. I don't want millions of listeners. There's not millions of people in my segment. And so I think that if we start getting into this like comparison game from the start, and so many podcasters immediately go to that for some reason, we start building this really bad dynamic inside of like, ooh, I have to be this.
Maybe growth isn't as mechanical as we've been told. So what actually survives once the hype settles?
I think that the big thing is that the podcast that has a very narrow focus is going to be the one that does the best. That it's really like maybe a how-to type of thing, even if it's like a short season, like those would do really well. And then beyond that, it's going to be anything that's entertainment. I mean, people love entertainment, right? So like even if podcasting isn't mainstream, people love to be entertained through true crime, comedy, sports, any of that stuff, I think is going to do really, really well. And then beyond that, like I said, like the niche focused shows are going to do really good. What I think goes away is the general leisure show, the show about everything for everybody. Like I think that those are the ones that kind of fade away because people are not, it's not trendy. So they're like, oh, let me see this whole podcasting thing. Now it's like people that are like, you know what? I can't find this anywhere. Is there maybe a podcast about it? Or I love to laugh, like I want to find something that's funny. So I think that we'll see less general shows and more things that are narrow focused, with the exception of anything that's entertainment related.
Maybe it's time to revisit that idea I had for a podcast about restaurants that only exist inside converted gas stations. The weird shows survive. The specific shows survive. The shows that know exactly who they're for survive. Which brings us back to that first statement.
My show is not meaningful. There's only 100 people listening. I'm like, who are those 100 people that you're literally calling pointless and meaningless? Like that's a terrible thing to say. Right. And I hear that every single day. And I don't think that people necessarily they haven't processed it in that way. So they don't mean for it to be mean toward who they have. They just like, well, I heard this celebrity just started a show and they have millions of people listening. I'm not there. It's like, oh, that's great. That's okay. They've built the platform for years, right? Like you're just getting started. And so for me, I just think that we get too involved with chasing listeners because we think it opens up some sort of door for us. And listen, maybe it does a little bit of that. But the reality is if we could just shift our focus to saying, let me serve who's here today and get better and better and better at that, those people will go be your marketing team.
Before we wrap up, it's time to shift gears.
It's lightning round.
It's that you have to have social media advice. that I don't love. I have a friend and she hates social media. She had a very good podcast and she's like, but I can see my quality, my show diminishing because I'm spending so much time on social media to grow it. And so she deleted all of her social media and her show went from that year. It was like at the beginning of a year. So she had 10,000 people listen that year. The next year when she had no social media, she had 60,000 downloads that next year. And people were baffled, like, how'd you do it? What social channel were you using? She's like, none. I just focused on my content, made it super good. And what happened is everyone who was listening to it started sharing it because it was so good. So they were sharing it. And to me, the idea that you have to have social media, I don't agree with that notion. Your show can do really well without it. One is just the very clearly AI scripted episodes where it's like, there's not a lot of conversation happening. It's just like, hey, give me 10 questions to ask David today. And it's like, and listen, I'm fine if people start with that, but like massage it a little bit, right? Like don't just use that. And I'm seeing more and more of that. And people are wondering, hey, why is my show not growing? I'm like, well, you haven't put in a lot of effort. And I think that people can people see, they hear that, right? They know that. So I would really like to see those things go away.
How about a signature sign-off phrase?
Oh, I've never been creative enough for it. I've heard some that I really like Stay Classy San Diego. Like that one's a good one, right? Like going back to Anchorman. I've heard some good ones. I've always wanted something like that, but I personally have never been clever enough for it. So I like if you come up with something good. I think that's fun. I think that too many of us were so focused on our next listener instead of our current listener. I don't really mean stop trying to grow your show. I mean, stop making that the focal point of it. Like if you could just make better content, if you could just serve the person who's already listening, as a byproduct, your show will grow.
Alex Sanfilippo is the founder of PodMatch. If you've ever tried to book guests the hard way, PodMatch is basically the dating app version of podcast guest booking. Check it out. That's it for this episode of Monetize This. Thanks for listening. Now go make something worth listening to.
So there you go. Monetize This. Dave Beckmeyer with Alex Sanfilippo from PodMatch. Oh, what a great episode, right? A few thoughts. A few thoughts. The comments around YouTube, that was interesting. The comments around listen notes. I totally resonate with this. And again, there's so much. You're going to have to go listen to it again. Like just rewind it. You're right here. Just go back and listen to it again. It was really, really good. Did you catch the edits? Did you catch how Dave put together the show and how he directed the conversation? And how he just chopped it down into a short episode. Like, what a great episode. So go check out Monetize This. It's a great podcast. Love for you to go support Dave. You can go to his Substack as well. And you can sign up for his emails and his newsletter. This guy's great. He's a really great creator. I'm so happy to know him through podcasting. And I'm a big fan. And this is a feed drop. So go check out his show. And if you want a slightly more satirical look at the podcast gurus out there, go check out Monetize This with Dave Beckmeyer. Again, links in the show notes. Dave, what a great episode. Thank you for letting me share this here for this audience. I'm encouraging everyone to do the best with the internet and go and support this amazing creator and listen to his show, sign up for his newsletter, tell 5 people about him. Let's make this show great. Let's really, really bring a lot of people to Dave because he works hard, he loves what he does, and he does it really well. So let's all do this for him. I'm asking you, please, if you've found any value in the How to Podcast series with over 650 episodes plus, please go support this creator, go support Dave Beckemeyer, and tell people, share the show, give him a rating review, do whatever you need to do, whatever works for you. But let's help Dave's show grow. That's what we can do, right? You and I can do this together. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Dave, great show. Alex, amazing conversation. Thanks for being so open and honest and fun, guys. It was really, really fun to listen to. Yeah, it was great. Thanks for listening. Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening to the end of the podcast. You're here with me. I'm so grateful. I want to put something in front of you. For the person that's listened this far, you're my new best friend. So what I'm trying to do every month is I have a goal, and you can help me with this goal. Very simple. What I'm trying to do is have 5 conversations this month with listeners of the How to Podcast series. You don't have to have a podcast to respond. This can be the first time ever that we're going to have a conversation, but I'm looking to talk to 5 people. Now, you're still here, so you're one of the people that I would love to talk to next. So on my howtopodcast.ca website is a calendar, and I'd love to have you respond on howtopodcast.ca. Just click the calendar link, set up time in my calendar, and in the comments section for the meeting, just put something like listener. That's it. If you have a show, put it in the comments too so I can go listen. But if you don't, I just want to talk to 5 listeners every month from now to the end of the month. So if you're listening to me right now, you're the person I want to talk to. And through howtopodcast.ca, you and I can get together, chat about the show, chat about your journey as a podcaster. Where are you at? What do you need the show to become for you? What's missing? Your feedback. I just want to meet you. And as podcasters, I would encourage you to do something similar to this in your podcast so that you can meet and interact with your audience. So, howtopodcast.ca, I'm looking to talk to 5 people every month, and I would love for you to be one of them. Reach out. It's free. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to talk to you at howtopodcast.ca. Let's get in the calendar and chat. Thanks for listening. You're still here. Great. Okay. The question from coaching a podcaster recently, they were asking me, Dave, they had a situation where they were recording. They knocked something over during the recording, and then they got all flustered that they had knocked it over. They apologized on the mic. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so clumsy. I'm so stupid. They said a bunch of things negative about themselves, and they made a big deal about a simple little thing that fell over during the recording. And it made them feel awkward. It made the moment feel awkward for the listener, for the guest, because it was all about the thing. And it really threw them off. Like they lost their train of thought. They lost their flow of the conversation because of one stupid little thing that happened. It just, something fell over and they just kept fixating on it. And they're like, maybe we should start over. All of this, right? They started really kind of spiraling during the interview. So what I would suggest to them is if these things happen, we make mistakes, right? We're human beings. There's no way you're going to be perfect. There's no way you could create a perfect episode. We always edit, right? We should. We always edit, and we always make the show sound better than it was when we recorded it. But don't get caught up on these things. The moment you bring attention to the thing that happened that was unplanned and unexpected and not what you had hoped for, that's when people make a big deal of it. When you don't even acknowledge it, when you just, so say for example, you knock something over, you just set it back up like where it was and you just keep talking. You don't even look at it. You don't even apologize. You just keep moving forward, right? If you don't make a big deal of it, nobody else will make a big deal of it. The only reason they're making a big deal of it is because you did. So when something happens, you screw up, you say the wrong word, pronounce their name wrong, you just change it, fix it in the moment, and adjust, pivot, go. And fix it later in the edit. Nobody will even know. So keep that in mind. I've said dumb things on the mic, and when we were done, I said to my guest, listen, that one spot where I said this, where your name of your book was this, but the name of your book is supposed to be that, I'll fix it in the edit. No one will know. And just make note of it. Do a good job of editing and make your show sound better. And always let your guests know when they come on your show that it's not live if you're not doing live. If you're doing live, then yeah, you can't really do anything about that. But when you're not live, just let your guests know we're not live. We can edit. We can fix anything. If we go off on a tangent, if we make a mistake, we can always just go back and fix. So do that. When you make a mistake, don't make a big deal of it. Just adjust, pivot, move on, and your audience won't even really pick up on it. So be careful, plan it out, practice, and you'll be fine. If you need help, let me know. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for sticking around.